Well, it's been a crazy little few weeks, hasn't it? Firstly, we had VAR throwing up absolute stinkers, and then we had games postponed due to the death of Queen Elizabeth II. So, yeah, it's been a bit of a mad week. We're back with Gameweek predictions. Gameweek 7 will be rearranged to happen later in the season, so we're just going to jump ahead to Week 8. But I will review my Week 6 predictions, as I have not talked about those on video yet. Let's jump into it. First, we have the Merseyside derby of Everton versus Liverpool. I predicted 3-1 to Liverpool. It's actually a 0-0 draw. So while this ended in 0-0, I thought Everton looked like the better side. Personally, I didn't see the whole match, but from what I saw a good chunk of it, and from what I saw, Everton looked really good. And honestly, they could have won it. I thought Malpe looked great, but sticking with his inability to score a goal, he missed a couple chances. But he could have scored, and I probably even won this game for Everton. It looked like Liverpool's rough start is still going, and after what we saw in the Champions League, it's not great for them. Also, Virgil should have got a red for that challenge. Like, what the fuck? Moving on to Tottenham versus Fulham now. I predicted 2-1. It was actually 2-1. Let's go. So Tottenham maintained the unbeaten run, and they also played really well against Fulham. Mitrovic was at it again, but unfortunately for Fulham fans, it was not enough for them to come away with a win. Richarlison scored a goal, celebrated like mad, got a card, and then had the goal struck off. But then he scored 2 goals in the Champions League, so who really cares? And then, we move on to Nottingham Forest versus Bournemouth. I'm not happy with this. This was quite frankly embarrassing for Forest. We threw away a 2-0 lead at home. But you know what? Fair play to Bournemouth for coming back after half time. They changed their formation, and for some reason we just couldn't respond. We were honestly embarrassing in that second half, and if we continue like that, we're probably going to get relegated. So I'm hoping that this extra week Cooper has had with the signings, they've been able to embed themselves in better, and hopefully we take on Fulham with a much better looking team. And then move on to Wolves versus Southampton. I predicted a 1-1 draw. It was actually 1-0 to Wolves, so well done for getting your first 3 points of the season. But it was a game that very easily could have been a draw. Wolves looked good going forward, however they've only scored 3 goals this entire season, which is joint bottom, I think. So they need to really improve in that aspect. And they're also not the greatest in defence. Southampton had their chances, but unfortunately could not get a goal. And moving on to Newcastle Crystal Palace, I predicted 5 goals, 3-2. It was actually 0-0. And both keepers were pulling out massive saves in this match. It was I think a beauty. Isaac almost netted at St James's Park, but took too close to the keeper. He took too many touches and unfortunately couldn't get the ball in. But Newcastle also scored a goal that should have stood, but for some bizarre reason VAR overruled it. This match is one of the big matches where VAR had an absolute shocker this week, or 2 weeks ago now. Leeds Brentford. Now for some reason I didn't predict this match. I don't know why. It's 5-2 to Brentford, and I would not have predicted that score anyway. But that is something that you wouldn't expect to go together. Brentford and scoring 5 goals. But here we are. Brentford looked amazing here, and Leeds' defence, it looked lost. And Meslier, I don't know what he was doing when he came out of goal. Also, Jesse Marsh saw a red, so, even better. Gotta praise Sinistero though, what a finish on that boy. Also, Ivan Toney, he don't miss. What a player. And then Chelsea West Ham United, I also forgot to predict this one. But the game ended in 2-1, and that's probably what I would have predicted anyway. But I can't count it because I didn't predict it. And this is another crazy game that West Ham should have got a point from. But dodgy refereeing saved Chelsea. Mendy has had an absolute mare this season, and he had an absolute mare for the first goal. However, super subs Havertz and Chilwell, they managed to turn it around for Chelsea. However, the refereeing cost West Ham this game. And Moyes had a right to be fuming at the officials because Corney's goal should have stood. I think they even admitted their wrongdoing in this match. But Tuchel is gone now. Graham Potter's in at Chelsea. So we'll see if Chelsea can start winning more games like they have here, instead of losing to Dinamo Zagreb. We'll see. Then we've got Aston Villa versus Manchester City. I predicted 3-1 to City. It was actually 1-1 draw. Now, unfortunately for Haaland and Haaland fans, he could not make it a hat-trick in a hat-trick of games. You know what? Man City should have lost this game, and refereeing once again cost another team 2 points. Coutinho bagged from an onside position, but the lino said no after he'd scored a goal, which is very unfortunate for Villa because that goal should have stood. Bailey, one absolute belter from him. What a great player. I think he might play a big role for Aston Villa this season. We move on to Brighton and Hove Albion versus Leicester. Now I produced 2-0 to Brighton. It's actually 5-2. And not in my life would I have expected to see Brighton net 5 goals. Now Leicester did score early on, but after just 9 minutes, Brighton levelled. And my god, Brighton were on fire. And Leicester never really looked to get into the game. They scored a couple goals here and there, but Brighton dominated. And McAllister was robbed of another goal. It could have been 6-2. Oh man. VAR had a madness last week. And move on to Manchester United versus Arsenal. I played a 3-2 to Arsenal. It was actually 3-1 to Manchester United. Now I knew United would turn up, but I didn't think they'd turn up like this. Now the United squad, they're coming together. They're looking a lot better. After each match they're looking better. And they ended Arsenal's 5-game run of wins. They won 5 games before facing Manchester United. Now Ronaldo did come on and Arsenal did equalise, but Rashford pulled it back with 2 goals. I think he's back. I think Rashford's back. He's some player, isn't he? So those are my predictions and my reactions to those predictions. I didn't do too well. We're still maintaining the streak of 1 prediction right per week. So we haven't broken the 2 predictions mould yet. But hopefully we'll get there soon. So I've made sure that I've got every game that are happening here. There are less games happening this week because of obviously what happened with the Queen. So some games have been postponed. But each team has been given an extra week of training unless the game was postponed and they've got more weeks. But regardless, they should be fresh and ready to play. So let's start with the Friday matches, and we start with Aston Villa versus Southampton. Now Aston Villa have not had the best start to the season, and they're currently just floating above the relegation zone. However, they did perform well against City and held them to a draw, probably saving Gerrard's job, to be honest. Southampton have had a better start to the season than Aston Villa, and a win over Chelsea really shows what they can do against a big top side. I'm not saying Aston Villa are a big top side, but you know, they've managed to get a win over Chelsea. I'm going to go 2-1 to Southampton. Now normally you'd back Villa here, but I can see Southampton turning up and continuing their decent start. Villa will be looking to right what happened with City, obviously getting a goal disallowed, but I can't really see that happening here. I think Southampton will do it. And then move on to Nottingham Forest versus Fulham. So Forest returned to the City ground after that dreadful Bournemouth performance, and I can only hope this extra week has given Cooper the time he needs to, you know, get to know all his new players, gel with them, and really put together a strong team. Also, Mangala is back, which is huge. Brilliant midfielder. But Fulham have had a brilliant start to the season, scoring against big clubs in the league, holding them to draws. You know, they've done well. But unfortunately for me, a Forest fan, I think Fulham are going to win this match 2-1. Unfortunately, I can't really see Forest stopping Fulham here. Mitrovic is just too good and will definitely bag here. Forest really need to start a striker if we're going to score goals. That is somewhere we're struggling. We're tied bottom of the league for goals because Brennan Johnson, he's just not a striker, and we're not playing Awoniyi to his strengths. So I hope this extra week has given some time for tactics to change, and hopefully we'll kick on. But I think Fulham will beat us here. Move on to the Saturday matches now, and we have Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Manchester City. Now Wolves will be riding high after claiming their first 3 points of the season against Southampton, but as I've said, Wolves did not look great in defence in that match, and we know they don't score many goals. Also, City have a dangerous squad. Even if they rotate some players, it's still going to be dangerous. I'm going to say 3-0 to City. I can't see Wolves doing much against City here, even at home. I'm sure City will rest some of their big players, but as I said, their depth is crazy, so it doesn't really matter who they rest because they're still going to bang goals. Moving on to Newcastle United versus AFC Bournemouth now, and this looks like another cakewalk. We know Newcastle United play good football, but Bournemouth have not really been able to show themselves. They've obviously played big sides like Liverpool and City, and obviously they can't really showcase themselves against these big sides. However, against Forest, they showed that they could come back and play good football. However, Newcastle are a much better side than Forest, and I'm going to say 2-0 to the Toon Army. St James's Park will be a hard place to go this season. I've said it many times and I'm going to keep saying it. And on top of that, Newcastle are a very strong side. Very solid this season. It'll be really tough for Bournemouth to break them down. However, they could cause an upset. You know, it might happen, but realistically, I don't think it will. I think Newcastle wipe the floor with them. Then we move on to Tottenham Hotspur versus Leicester City. A top 3 side take on relegation candidates. And I think it's pretty nailed on what's going to happen here. Now, Leicester have not been playing well this season. They got bad by Brighton before the postponement, and they've lost quite a few players, only bringing in like 1 or 2, which I don't think has been enough to replace them. Tottenham, on the other hand, are playing very well both domestically and in Europe. I'm going to say 3-1 to Tottenham. I can see Leicester managing a goal. You know, they've got that quality within the squad, but Tottenham will win this with ease. Their squad has much more quality than Leicester's, and currently probably much more confident as well, riding on the unbeaten run they've had and the victory in Europe. Even if there's some rotation, they've got a very strong squad. Players that I think should be getting more game time, such as Jed Spence. So hopefully he gets some more game time this week. And finally, moving on to Sunday, we've got Brentford versus Arsenal. Arsenal will be looking to get back to winning ways after failing to beat a resurgent Manchester United. Brentford have also been playing well this season, putting 5 past leads and a very good win over Manchester United. Last season, Brentford did cause an upset over Arsenal, but since then the Arsenal squad has evolved and gotten a lot stronger, and I can't really see that happening again. I think it'll be 3-1 to Arsenal. I reckon we'll see Tony score again because that guy just bags goals like it's fun, but I can only see Arsenal winning this match. Brentford do have goal scorers amongst their side, and they should be able to score here, as Ivan Toney's in great form and should probably get an England call-up if we're being realistic. And I can also see Jesus ending his goal drought. He hasn't scored in 2 games, not really a drought, but I reckon he'll score here. I hope he does, he's on my fucking FPL for crying out loud. And the final game of the week is Everton versus West Ham United. Now, Everton are still without a win this season, but managed to impressively hold off Liverpool to a draw in the Merseyside derby, which, you know, they could have won, as I've said. The Hammers played well in Europe, but in the league it's a different story. They had an unfortunate goal chalked off against Chelsea for some dodgy referee work, but they've shown that they can score goals and they have the players that need to do that. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I think both these two teams are pretty evenly matched at the moment. You know, Everton brought in Jimmy Garner, much to my sadness, and if he starts, he's going to play well in the Premier League, I know he will. And both have goal scorers between them. Unfortunately for Everton, Pickford is out though, so they could be a bit more leaky than they would like. But if the defence can shore up, I'm sure they'll be able to cover for Pickford. So I'm going to say 1-1. But yeah, those would be my Premier League Game Week 8 predictions. Wasn't really too much to go off as we didn't see any football last week. But I'm happy it's returned. You know, it should return really. You know, the Queen was a fan of football. I'm not sure why football was one of the only sports to stop, but here we are. We can't do anything about that now. And yeah, these are my predictions. Hopefully I get more than one right. And yeah, if you want to tell me any of your predictions in the comments below, please do so. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.